Let's go.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hello, everybody. As you know, I will speak in English. Aber ihr könnt gerne Fragen auf Deutsch stellen, and I will answer you in English, vielleicht. Yes. So, when Basti approached me, we didn't have a topic yet. I said, okay, what do you want me to present on? And he said, how about peripheral nerve mobilization? I was like, what am I going to tell a bunch of physios about nerve mobilizations? But anyways, so I'm just here to present our approach to it, and hopefully you can get something out of it. But we start first with, you know what, we had a seminar today, and Lars, my mentor, he likes to stand like this, and for me it's throwing me off a little bit, so I have to switch sides. Okay, we start first with my background and my journey, just so you guys get to know me a little bit better. And I play volleyball. I still play volleyball now at a pretty competitive level in the Oberliga. I play here, but when I was younger, I started quite late. I was not as athletic as the other kids, but I worked very hard. So I was spending all of my extra time in the gym doing strength and conditioning in order to be as good as the girls, because I started very late. And I wasn't as fortunate as them. But once I got to the university level, it's not like in Europe where you have different league levels. You either play for the varsity team, the university team, or by the time you are 18 or so, you're pretty much done playing competitive volleyball. So I ended up finding out about CrossFit back then, and I got really into it. Turns out I'm quite good at weightlifting, and I had a bit of an affinity for it. And this ended up taking me to Europe. So I ended up finishing my studies in Europe, and I got to know some people, actually some SWAT team members from the French Police Academy, and I ended up training with them a little bit. And this took me to a lot of competitions, weightlifting competitions, CrossFit competitions across Europe. And this is how I met my Geschäftspartner, my business partner, and they convinced me to move here to Germany and to open up this gym. And so back then it was actually a CrossFit gym, and this was the atmosphere. Okay, this was right here where you were sitting, and as you can see, it was a different kind of culture then. What you have to know something about me is that I was very strictly raised. So if you know anything about Asian people and tiger moms, I was militantly raised, and all of my coaches were ex-military, ex-cops, etc. So I was very, very strict about how I trained people, how I coached people. I cared very much about whether or not people were doing things correctly, that they wouldn't injure themselves. But despite all of my efforts, and me trying very hard, there were some things that didn't quite fit. So people continued to get injured. They didn't improve as much as I thought that they should have. And so we opened the gym in 2013, and then I ended up meeting this guy, Lars. So he's the author of this book, and he basically ruined my life in 2014. So I ended up meeting him at another gym, and he approached me and asked me if he could coach me. And I said, for what? And he said, yeah, because are you doing competitions? Back then I was, I think, around 25 years old. And I said, I'm not doing competitions anymore. And he asked me why not, because he saw the quality of my movement, and he thought that I was very interesting, and CrossFit was very interesting, because basically, like a lot of other endurance sports, it's about pain tolerance. It's basically, you know, increasing work capacity, but also hugely about pain tolerance. And this was very interesting for him. And so he actually trained me for 1 year as an athlete. And normally he only works with Olympians, professional athletes. And I got to know him. I got to know all about Z Health, NeuroAthletik. And I decided that I have to know everything that this guy knows. And so I started the entire education. And he learned from this guy. His name is Dr. Eric Cobb. And this is the original NeuroAthletik. I mean, not original NeuroAthletik, but where it originates from. And so Z Health, I like to think about it like this, is the encyclopedia. And NeuroAthletik is kind of like the dictionary, but also very much oriented towards profiling individual athletes for very specific sports. And so I flew back and forth from America to Denmark, and I took a bunch of these courses. I think in total there's 11 courses. Each one is 4 days long, and they have an incredible online platform. So if you are interested, and some of the stuff that we're learning today, if you are interested, they have a very extensive library on all of this stuff. So you could reference that if you would like. It's just very expensive, just to prequel you now. So this is me studying neuroanatomy, and it was very stressful, and it was really a lot. And now, NeuroAthletik was actually created by Lars. So he took a lot of the Z Health principles, he applied them to professional athletes, and he created this trademark, NeuroAthletik. And so I came up with some of the trainers that are now big in the, I guess, in their individual fields. So Jan Ingve Kausen-Brake, for example, we studied together, and he now is the trainer, the athletic trainer for the female soccer team. German soccer team, and also for the trainer academy for the DFB. And we also have Per Mertesacker. He was one of Lars's athletes for like a lot of his career already. And he is now head of the youth training academy at Arsenal London. So NeuroAthletik is actually it's picking up some speed. And while I finished the Z Health Applied Neurology and Performance Education over 2 years, I observed many things, and I'm going to share with you guys those things. I had a few WTF moments. I'm not going to curse because you guys are recording this. So I had some what the F moments, and I'm going to share some of them with you. The first one would be Niels here. So Niels looks like he could be on Men's Fitness magazine, right? He looks like a wonderful athletic specimen. However, when I met him, he was 26 years old, and he had some serious problems, 25 years old. He was a multi-sport athlete, except he had very, very high blood pressure. And so I think some of his highs were 180 over 110, and he was taking blood pressure medication that normally a 90-year-old man would be taking. And Niels is a dedicated athlete. He could play everything. He played handball, volleyball, he was wakeboarding, he was really into CrossFit and weightlifting when he was training here at the gym with me. He didn't tell me until 2 years into training with me that he had this problem, and I was like, what? And so for me, this was a huge what the F moment. How can a person who takes care of his nutrition, trains regularly, sleeps well, he didn't drink, not even the occasional beer, or didn't smoke, any of that, how can this person have this blood pressure? And so I ended up getting a lot into applied neurology, and we ended up working together, and he was one of the first people that I kind of pretty much experimented on because I was learning. And so after about 8 months of working together, we would take his blood pressure before, during, after training, and this was the end result after 8 months of working together. Jan asked me at the presentation, how did I do this? It's a bit complex of a process. I can explain it to you later. I don't know if it would make any sense, but we can talk about it later. Anyways, moral of the story is I realized that you can be fit, but not healthy. Fitness and health are not the same thing. He looks fit. He can do all of this stuff, but it doesn't mean he's healthy. So this was a real what the F moment. This is a video of Basti. Basti, I don't know if you knew that I was going to use this video, but this is Basti. So let's watch Basti. I don't know if you guys know much about Olympic weightlifting. So I trained Basti for a period of time, and Basti is obviously very strong. Okay, what do you observe? What do you guys think? What's your first initial impression? Yes, go ahead, Jan. That's what you're thinking? Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes, he's very slow. Yeah, very slow. So if you watch like Olympic weightlifters, they are freaking fast under the bar. And Basti's problem was his speed, and we did a lot of work. We did plyometrics, we did a bunch of directional change exercises, we trained the crap out of his speed. Did it work? No. So we ended up doing some neuro stuff, and we realized Basti had a few deficits, some visual deficits. So I'm not sure if you know what binocular vision is, or basically each eye gets an image of the world, and your brain is supposed to integrate these two images. And there's a few tests to figure out if you are actually integrating or fusing these two images properly. Turns out, when Basti goes to the bottom of a squat, one eye's image is completely suppressed. So he's not actually fusing the image of the world around him at the bottom of the squat. So you just have to imagine this for your nervous system. If this is how your nervous system is not interpreting information, for your nervous system, it's not the greatest idea to hold 100 kilos over your head. Your nervous system doesn't really want you to go any faster because the situation is not very safe. So this is just one of the things we discovered. We discovered some more things as well, but that would be a long case study. Okay, the other thing, the other W, did somebody say something? You guys can also ask questions in between if you want.
You just have to know that she's translating a little bit for.
Ah, yeah, okay. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Am I speaking too fast? Yes, yes. Okay, so each eye gets an image of the world. So if you look at one point, okay, and you cover one eye, you will see this point. If you cover it with the other eye, maybe it shifts slightly. You have a triangulation of what you're seeing at all times. Each eye gets a different angle because of the position on your face. So you have both these images. The images are being sent to your brain, and they should be fused into one image. So some people, they see double sometimes. It's slightly off the image. That means that both the images haven't been fused. What happens very often with very many people is that one of the images is completely suppressed without you knowing. So part of one of the images, or the entire image itself from one of the eyes, is deleted by the brain. So there are specific tests that you can do in order to find that out. Yeah, and it turns out that Basti, underneath a barbell that is only 20 kilos, and clearly he can lift more than 20 kilos, one of the images was suppressed completely. Yeah, okay. So another WTF moment I had was mobility and strength training programs. I became very obsessed with strength training programs, getting people to be stronger. I studied Russian weightlifting, Chinese weightlifting, American weightlifting, and I experimented with linear programming, autoregulatory programming, and I made everybody, all of the members at my gym, do these strength training programs. So I would have them come in, they would baseline, they would do some strength tests, your basic big 5, deadlift, push press, bench press, squat, what's the other one? Doesn't matter. So they would do this baseline, we would do an 8 to 12 week program, and then they would retest. So most people got better, but there's a handful of people who didn't get better. And this really bothered me. And I could not understand why, because I was not training professional athletes who had been doing weightlifting for a very long time. The thing is, when you are an amateur athlete, your improvement curve should be exponential. And when you are a more experienced athlete, in order for all of the weightlifting that I've done, for me to get a 2.5 kilo PR is a lot of work. It's probably a whole year's worth of work in order just to get 2.5 kilos on any of one of my lifts back then. I'm not very good now, and so I couldn't understand why these people didn't get better. And you could say, yeah, maybe they had a bad day or they didn't sleep well, but it cannot be for these amateur athletes that you don't get well at all. In fact, some of them even got worse on test day. That for me just made absolutely no sense. And so the other thing I realized is that there was a failure in athletic transfer. And we used to go on some social events, and these are a bunch of my members. We went wakeboarding one time. This is in Langenfeld. And as you can see, they are all failing miserably. And this is completely normal when it's your first time wakeboarding. However, we were there for 2 hours. There were 17 people, and I think only 2 people managed to do 1 round. And then I thought, how is that possible? Because the athletic requirements for this specific task are not very complex. Essentially, you have to sit in a quarter squat, you have to keep your arms straight, and you do not move. That is the assignment. You're not supposed to move, the thing pulls you, and you go around. If you move a little bit, you might fall over. Okay, if you know more about neurology and perturbation, then you understand there's more aspects to that, but I couldn't understand then why nobody could get around. Only 2 people of the 17 people. So I realized people are coming to my gym. They're getting better at squats. They're getting better at Reiß and Stoß and Ausstoß and whatever we were doing, lunges, push-ups, pull-ups, the whole thing. They're getting better at this. They're becoming more coordinated for the things that I was asking them to do, except they could not transfer their so-called coordination or their strength to other tasks. And this really bothered me. And I thought, I'm a huge failure as a trainer, and I don't know what I'm doing. There's other things that I realize as well, some other WTF moments, that people were using exercise as an anesthesia. So what people were doing were they were coming to the gym after their long day of work and they were very stressed out about life and whatever, and they basically just wanted to work out until they felt absolutely nothing and they felt dead, like they'd hit themselves in the wall and they felt nothing anymore. So it wasn't about learning to get to know your body, it wasn't about exploring movement, it was really about just killing themselves. The other thing that I noticed is that the wrong culture was starting to be formed. That it was more of a culture of more weight, more training, more reps, faster. It was always about more and faster. And the last thing is there was a lack of play. So we had always had a lot of balls here at the gym. And the thing is, adults, unlike children, do not know how to facilitate play. And we all know that play is super important for neuroplasticity and for socializing. And as adults, I realized that what I was doing in the gym was not encouraging a playful atmosphere, which is very important for longevity and neuroplasticity. So these were all the things that I realized. And obviously that's quite depressing. But then of course I had some aha moments, some very enlightened moments during my studies of applied neurology, and I'm going to share a few of them with you guys now. And this is one of them. This guy is Dr. Daniel Amen. He is a psychiatrist, and he has an amazing TED Talk on YouTube that you can check out. It's been viewed like 8 million times now. So he did brain scans on 83,000 people, and this is what he discovered. So if you take two patients who both have depression, who fill out the questionnaire, and they have the exact same symptoms, and then you put them into an fMRI machine, they have completely different brain activations. So on paper, according to the symptoms, they are the same. So you would normally prescribe them the same kind of drugs, right? So what they realize is that people actually have very different brain activations, even though they exemplify the same symptoms. And that means that as a doctor, as a psychiatrist, you should prescribe drugs according to the person's brain function. And that is the same for programs. And so I realized, this is why my template, my protocols for strength training, for mobility, for whatever, didn't work, because everybody has a different nervous system. If all the programs in the world worked, including diets, okay, nobody would be fat, nobody would be overweight, all of the strength programs would work, everybody would be an Olympian, and all therapies would cure everybody. And that is simply not the case, right? So there are, of course, some clients that stuff didn't work on, like me. There are some athletes, some clients who didn't get stronger, who didn't get better. People used to pay me to make them more flexible because I am naturally flexible. I grew up eating on the floor at dinner time with my parents. If I worked like somewhat hard, I could probably do spaghetti pretty soon, you know, but I did not have to work to be flexible. But people thought that because I'm flexible, I can teach them to be flexible. And so what I did was I took all of the protocols of mobility training, strength, flexibility, stretching protocols, and I tried to apply it to these people. But the only reason that these people paid me was because all they did until then didn't work. So I was just giving them another program and did not actually customize it for their nervous system. So, you guys are looking at me like, oh my God. Another one of the aha moments I had was when I started to learn about the visual system, the vestibular system, the respiratory system from a neuroanatomical applied neurology perspective. And this was one of my very first clients. Her name is Astrid. So you can just watch her gait analysis. This is the first time I met her. And you can see she waddles a little bit. She's a little bit overweight, not grossly, but for her actually. And so you have to know something about Astrid. She is a lecturer for law. And so she has to stand in front of a bunch of people and speak. So a big lecture hall, and she ended up being stung by a wasp, and she is deathly allergic to wasps. So when she got stung, she ended up having an allergic attack, and then her heart stopped. They had to reanimate her. And after that, this is how she was walking. She couldn't stand in front of people because she would become very dizzy, want to vomit, she couldn't see properly. And she had done already all of the therapies, ergotherapy, physiotherapy, osteotherapy, all of the stuff. And when she came to me, she asked me, okay, Tina, I want to start sports again. This is very important for her because she used to play Zweite Bundesliga Tisch tennis. Tisch tennis, I don't know if you guys have watched. What's that? Yeah, they're crazy. They're insane. Like Tisch tennis is crazy. Yes, her. So for her, being fit was very important. And she said, Tina, I would like to start sports again. And I saw her, I was like, I don't know what we're gonna do. So I started very basic stuff, sitting on the chair, standing up from the chair, doing some Stützübungen, planks against the wall, some little mini push-ups, you know, little things like that. And I would tell you, every functional training exercise that I did with her made her worse. It was terrible. And so then I go to Lars, my mentor, the guy who wrote this book, and I was like, Lars, you need to tell me what to do with this lady because I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I was nervous because I just started learning this stuff. And he said, okay, Tina, I'm going to teach you about cranial nerves, about Hirnnerven. And I was like, okay. And so in the end, I did visual exercises with her, vestibular exercises, which you'll see in a second, respiratory exercises, and a lot of cranial nerve exercises, which means also a lot of tongue exercises. It was very difficult for her to swallow, to eat food. And how is it possible that she ended up gaining weight, even though it was very hard for her to eat food? This is the mystery. And so this is what we ended up working on. I threw out all of the functional training exercises that I knew, and then I purely just focused on these neuro exercises. And so we ended up doing a lot of vestibular exercises. This is one of the vestibular exercises, so her moving her head up and down. You can see after 6 months, she's lost a lot of weight. Her posture is amazing. Her gait is way better. And she doesn't have vertigo or dizziness anymore. And so this is one of the exercises, looking up and down like this. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And a little bit left or right. And you can see that for the left or right ones, she walks a little bit slower. She's a little bit more staggered. So the left-right canals, the horizontal canals for her and her vestibular system, are a little bit more compromised than the other ones. And so this was one of my very first clients, and I was like, okay, so there is something here. And not everything is about doing squats and push-ups. That's what I learned. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to start experimenting on everybody. So all of my members here, they would do their exercises, and then I would say, hey, listen, David, can you just do some of this for me? And then and so they would do some exercises for me, and then I'd see afterwards what would happen to them. And very nicely, all of them obliged and let me try weird things on them, and they never really asked me any questions. And so this is one of the situations. This is Martin here. So this is the exercise we did in the class. And you just observe his head stability here, the mobility between his shoulder and his head, the level of perceived effort that he has, okay? Like how hard it seems for him. End of class, and I thought, so I just want to try something with you. Can you do just a few eye push-ups for me? So he's basically just watching his fingers and he's crossing his eyes. Schiert seine Augen. And back then I didn't care about the quality so much or how good he was doing it. I just wanted him to do it and see what happened, because what I had learned was that doing eye push-ups helps to facilitate neck stability and flexion. And you can see after this, he's much better, much more stable. The mobility here is much better, and perceived effort is much lower. So this is what I would just do with everybody at the gym, just to see if this applied neurology principles were actually true, if they worked. And so I realized, okay, that's awesome. I'm not going to show you guys all of the exercises because you guys also have to do some work in a second. But these are very old videos of me experimenting on people. So anyways, let's go back to this idea of converging of the eyes, okay? So then I realized, okay, if this makes Martin so much better, and a lot of other people better, because I tested a bunch of people, I have to integrate it into my classes somehow. How can I get people to do visual convergence while working out? This was one of the first variations. You throw a ball, the balls have letters on them. The person has to read the letter when it's in front of their face. So essentially, the eyes are converging as they are catching the ball. And then I realized that's kind of boring. So let's do something more fun, which is There we go. Okay, so we'll have them do them in lunges, we'll have them do them in squats, we'll have them going up and down, throwing at the same time, and all kinds of different variations of visual convergence. And so I ended up testing a bunch of different neurological, applied neurology principles, and then creating kind of modified functional training exercises. And then I also ended up at the same time working with a lot of in private training sessions. And so I was very fortunate and am very fortunate to be able to work with some professional athletes and as well as very compromised people. So people who have had strokes, people who have had concussions. A lot of the ice hockey players I work with have had concussions, neuropathy, etc. And so the only reason these people come to me is because they already did all of the other therapies and they are functioning, okay? So they can do stuff. It's just they're not doing stuff to the level that they want to be doing stuff. So she's, for example, she had a stroke, but she couldn't really use her arm, like she cannot separate keys or things like this, but she can hold her kid, she can do the stuff, you know, but for her that wasn't good enough. She wants to play sports, she wants to catch a ball, she wants to be able to skateboard and all that stuff, and her running wasn't normal. So her gait wasn't normal. And but you know, generally she's functional, she's fine. But these people come to me when they need just a little bit extra, or they're very, very desperate because they've tried everything already. And so they pay out of pocket. And what I realized is that it doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete, it doesn't matter if you are somebody who had a stroke. In the end, the nervous system is incredibly complex, but it is organized. So the neurological requirements for good movement are the same for everybody. And Fritzi, this is what Fritzi was asking me, if it was just mostly for athletes. It's not for athletes. The nervous system is the same. It's just slightly different for everybody, right? Okay. And so the group training system ended up integrating all of these concepts. And for our group training concept, it's now called Craftletics. And the thing is, you have to make these neurocentric exercises fun and sexy for everybody. And so you'll see that a lot of the exercises are very playful. There are vestibular exercises, visual exercises, respiratory exercises. Everything is integrated into a group training concept. And so that's what we do here at the gym. Okay, good. So that was the beginning. Do you guys have any questions? No? How do we feel?
Impressive.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I will explain about the one aspect, but I could explain the eye push-up, but maybe not today, you guys. We can do that in another session. Okay, so let's do some basic stuff, okay? Some foundational knowledge. The neurology of movement. Do you guys need a drink or a coffee break or a beer or something? No? Everybody's fine? Okay, all right. The neurology of movement. So we have NeuroBasics 1.0, okay, the satellites. What does the nervous system do? At its most basic level, the nervous system receives sensory input from a bunch of different receptors. It takes all of this information, it integrates it, it makes a decision. What are we going to do about this information? And then you have a relative output. So you have to understand there are some people who move better than other people, and the output is dependent on what happened beforehand. Okay, so let's talk about Haltung, or the posture. Nobody wakes up in the morning and thinks, you know what, I want to have really shit posture this morning. Nobody wakes up and thinks, I want to be this person today. Okay, they're not consciously deciding to do that. And the people who have good posture, they also don't wake up in the morning and think, I'm going to have great posture. Okay, so posture is an output of the nervous system, yeah? And if somebody has bad posture, we have to think about it's reflexive. Why do they have reflexively poor posture? So we can do all of these exercises that we want to do, like back training exercises. We can wear these funny things that they sell on TV now that holds your shoulders back. But none of that actually addresses why reflexively this person has poor posture to begin with. And so we have to think about this chain of events that happens before that. Now, let's look at the sensory input. From where do we get sensory information? So if we want to think about it like this, that our body has a GPS, and we have different satellites to receive all of this sensory information. We have one satellite being the visual system, another one being the vestibular system. Which way is up? All of our movement maps are created relative to gravity. Who has practiced handstands? Okay, once you turn upside down for the first time, your awareness of your body is completely different. Or even if you're in a swimming pool and you happen to do kind of a somersault in the swimming pool, your awareness of your body part starts to get kind of mixed up because your proprioception is actually connected to gravity. So for the people who I work with who cannot use their hands anymore or have some kind of movement disturbance, when I do skin pull tests on them and they close their eyes and they're supposed to tell me in which way I am pulling their skin, a lot of them mix it up. Not only because their proprioception isn't working, but because proprioception has to do with gravity. And so they also have vestibular problems because your proprioception, your sense of direction, which way is up and which way is down, which way my arm is moving in space, has to do with your vestibular system. And then the last one is our proprioceptive system, which most of us are much more familiar with. So let's do a test, you guys. I'm about praxis. Everybody take your shoes off. You're going to regret drinking those 2 beers or 1 beer now. All right, everybody, let's stand up. Okay, and so we're going to do some balance tests now. All right, so just look at something, preferably not me, and we're just gonna lift one leg off the floor. You don't have to do anything crazy where you have to use a lot of hip flexion. Just lift your foot off the floor, look at something, stabilize, relax your arms. Are you giggling? All right, we're gonna switch sides now. Okay, keep looking at the same thing. And we're gonna lift the other foot. We're just gonna hold. And you're just going to try to identify which one is better. Okay, good. All right, okay, we'll shake it out a little bit. Okay, we'll stand on, you can pick the leg, okay? Actually, no, let's stand on the worst leg, you guys. Let's stand on the side that is not as good, okay? We'll make this demonstration a bit shorter. All right. Are you guys fixating your eyes on something? Yeah? Okay, go ahead, close your eyes. Okay, and relax. Was it better or worse? Worse. Okay, good. So go ahead, rub the bottom of your foot now, the side that you just stood on. Okay, and now you can rub somebody else's foot if you want. Okay, just rub your partner's foot. You can sit down if you want to do this. And now we're going to stand back up on that leg and see how you feel. Good. Better, worse, the same? Better? Okay, let's try closing your eyes. Close your eyes. Better, worse, the same as the last time you closed your eyes? Bit better, same. Some people worse. It can be worse, okay? Yeah. Okay, go ahead and sit down. So, moral of the story is that when you affect the sensory input, the output, which is balance, could change. Yeah? So we take away one sensory system, which is the eyes. Most people don't understand that balance has not only to do with the proprioception in your foot. It has to do with your Gleichgewichtssystem, your vestibular system, and very much your visual system. Because your visual system and your vestibular system, they're like buddies, okay? They work together at all times. Sorry. So people don't understand that balance has not only to do with the proprioception in your foot, in your joints, etc. It has a lot to do with your vestibular system, your Gleichgewichtssystem, and very much your visual system. Most of you got a lot worse when you shut off the visual system. And the visual system and the vestibular system, they're buddies. They are best friends, and when they are not getting along, bad things happen. Okay? When they're not calibrated, bad things happen. You get things like vertigo, car sickness. There's a lot of other things which you will find out about in a little bit. Okay, so that was the super, super, super easy version. We make it now NeuroBasics 2.0, okay? So we have things happening in the environment around us all of the time. You are aware of the person sitting next to you, you are watching me, you know that Felix is behind you with the camera, etc. So we have different sensory systems. We have the external sensory system. So exteroception, what is happening in the world around me? What can I see? What can I hear? What can I smell? And then you also have proprioception. What is my body doing? Is my foot falling asleep because I've had it in this position for too long? Does my butt hurt? Am I cold perhaps? And then you also have an internal interoception. How does my body feel? Am I hungry? Am I upset? Am I frustrated? Etc. Okay, how do I feel about this situation? How do I feel about all this information that Tina is throwing at my face right now? And so then you have a sensory integration map. So what is going on right now? From all these systems, your exteroception, proprioception, interoception, it is feeding into your sensory map in general. What is going on in my body and outside of my body? And then you have all of this information gets sent to the observer model or the action planning map. So what is happening? What is going to happen? Because your brain is all about predictability. Am I safe in this environment? Is it going to continue to be this cold all of the time? And then what should be done? And there's a constant communication that is going back and forth. Then motor or movements are coordinated. So we're going to do this now. My leg is falling asleep. I'm going to move a little bit. Tina is making me uncomfortable because of all this new information, and so I start to fidget a little bit. Okay, and then it sends all of these commands to the musculature, and then the musculature continues to interact with the environment. So this is constantly going on all of the time. This is very important to understand because if we only look at the musculature, then we're missing out on how movement is created in general. And so if you only look at the end here, perhaps you cannot solve all of the problems or more of the problems. Which brings me to the next point, NeuroBasics 3.0, the threat bucket. As I said, the brain is always thinking about, is it predictable or not? And your brain is constantly making heuristics about what is happening. So if you are, has anybody ever been bitten by a dog? Nobody's been bitten by a dog? You've been bitten by a dog? Okay. So most likely when you are walking on the street and you see a human with a dog. Now, if the human has a small dog, you think low threat, okay? If the human has a German Shepherd with them, higher threat, okay. Is this German Shepherd walking nicely? No, this German Shepherd is pulling left and right and up and down, and this person does not have control of this dog. Threat level has increased. Should I switch sides? Should I walk on the other side of the street? Okay, so your brain is always trying to predict, is this environment safe or not? When you guys came in here, a little bit apprehensive. You've never been in this environment before. When you met me, you're like, your brain is already gauging, is this human trustworthy or is she not trustworthy? And so your brain is always trying to think, is it predictable? If your brain does not think something is predictable, it's going to be like, nope, nope, hello, no thank you. Because your brain's first priority is to keep you safe. Do you think Basti's nervous system cares if he puts 100 kilos over his head? His nervous system is not thinking, oh yeah, this is like amazing. There's a reptilian part of his brain. The front part of his brain is for logic, executive function, etc. But the back part of his brain is really primal and is really concerned about his safety. And so the back part of his brain, when his eyes are not working properly, is thinking, this is not the greatest situation to be in. 100 kilos overhead could be a little bit precarious. Okay, so the brain is going, slow down, buddy. Okay, believe me, if his kid was in danger, you have no idea how fast he would be moving. He would be moving really freaking fast. So we have to think about the threat bucket. Everybody who comes into your praxis, into your clinic, or into my gym, everybody who comes, they come with their own threat bucket. And a lot of things go into this bucket. So for example, if they have visual deficits, right? How many of you know that as you get older, your eyes are getting a little bit worse? And then you have to wear glasses. What about vestibular issues that people could come in with? So vestibular issues, most people don't know about unless they've had vertigo or some kind of problem, or if you've had an ear infection, okay? If you've had an ear infection that's really bad, and then you get vertigo afterwards, you have crystals or something like this really freaking sucks. And so let's say you just have a minor ear infection and it's not really that bad, but you know what? You can't really hear properly on that side all of a sudden. And so the threat level goes up slightly, right? And then what if you have an injury, an old injury, you know, and then your joints don't work that well anymore. It's not as properly mapped as it used to be. And then you have poor respiratory function. So how many people actually do respiratory training, make sure that their respiratory mechanics are working well? And then exercise. Exercise is a stressor. It can be a good stressor or it can be a bad stressor. If you are a poor mover, that means your movement quality is not great, and you try to work out really hard, do you think your nervous system is more stressed from this or less stressed from this? And then on top of that, you have work stress, relationship stress, familial stress, etc. And then dieting. This is amazing on top of that. So everybody who has all of this stuff that's going into their threat bucket, and they think, you know what, I feel really fat, so I'm gonna eat less calories. And your brain is trying to struggle and balance all of these deficits and try to compensate for all of these threats that are like here. And then you're gonna reduce the amount of fuel that you get, the amount of glucose, because your brain's preferred source of fuel is glucose. They've done tests on this. You can function on ketones, but glucose is really the best thing. And so if you reduce the amount of calories, your brain is like, oh shit, this is really bad. And so what happens then? Then it overflows, okay? Your stress bucket starts to overflow, and then you have some not so favorable outputs. For example, hypertension, okay? Too much tension, muscle tonus, okay? You have to understand that there is a reason why the muscles are more tense, and that is usually a protective mechanism from the nervous system. Mobility is reduced, your balance is then poor, your coordination is not as good, your strength is reduced, and then the last thing is pain, okay? So pain is your nervous system's way of telling you, hey buddy, something's wrong. We don't like this. You should change something. But your nervous system cannot send you an email and tell you all the things that are actually wrong, and then these are the things that you should really work on. So all of them come together, and you have something called a pain neurotag. And if you've had a Hexenschutz in English is back spasm before, and this was really effective because when you had the back spasm, then you lay down, you stopped working, you stopped moving a little bit, and your brain was like, you know what, the last time we had a back spasm, Tina stopped doing everything she was doing, and then all the other threats went down as well. And so this is the fastest way for your brain, my brain, to get my attention. When I am very stressed out, I can feel the twinge. It doesn't mean that something is wrong with me. It doesn't mean I have a herniated disc or anything. This is just my brain's fastest way to get my attention. Okay, and then last, actually that should be 4.0, voluntary versus reflective. So how does movement actually create it? I already told you that if we just focus on the muscles, then we're missing a huge part of this. And if we think about somebody like Messi here, kicking this soccer ball, okay? He's kicking the soccer ball. How is this movement created? How is it manifested? Where does it start from? So the first thing is that we have signals from your frontal lobe. Your frontal lobe gets all the information somehow and then is like, okay, in this situation, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make this kind of pass over there. So it sends a command to the basal ganglia, which makes up the movement map. Basal ganglia is basically, this is like commander-in-chief, this is whatever is underneath that, and he makes, or she makes, or they make, the movement plan, okay? And then the movement plan is then actually sent back to the frontal lobe for approval. Frontal lobe goes, yeah, that looks good, we're gonna do that. The movement plan is then sent to the cerebellum on the other side. Okay, so hold on a second. This might get confusing. If I kick with my right side, it's from the opposite frontal lobe. Basal ganglia, frontal lobe gets sent to the opposite cerebellum. And the cerebellum is basically the general who is like, all right, muscles, this is what we're going to do. It sends signals down the spinal cord, through the peripheral nerves, which is our topic of conversation for today, actually, and then it goes to the musculature. So you have to know that the musculature, they are very obedient soldiers of the nervous system. They are the foot soldiers. They are at the end of the chain of command. So if we simply just look here and we don't look at all the other aspects, then we are not truly understanding the entire scope of how movement is created if we want to improve movement quality. Yeah? Okay, so let's put this more into an applicable situation. Let's talk about the frontal lobe and cerebellum function through eye movements. So if the frontal lobe is responsible for making the commands, this is what we're going to do, this is what we need to do, it comes from the motor cortices, how can we actually assess frontal lobe function? And I'm going to show you. Called Focus Builder. It was created by, I think it's chiropractic neurologists. And this is the app. Can you guys see that okay? If we go into the sample sets and we look here, I mean, it's not the sexiest app in the world, you guys, but it's functional. So if we look at, let's go down here. Right frontal lobe. Doop. How do we understand the function of the frontal lobe? So eye movements are one of the most powerful ways to increase brain activity. If you do any eye movement, whether that's jumping or following something, around, they say this, but you can never be really sure, like 33 brain areas are active when you are moving your eyes around. So dogs, puppies, they use their nose to see the world. We as humans, we are very dependent on our eyes. So if you want to activate the left frontal lobe, you can do something called saccades. Saccades are eye jumps. So you're jumping, pop, 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 pop. That's different from following something. And so if we just press start here and you watch, if you want to activate the left frontal lobe, you would jump your eyes to the right. So they do fMRI screening and they can see this is what happens when we jump our eyes in a specific direction. So you can isolate left side, right side of the brain. Then, if you want to improve, let's say, sensory or the parietal lobe, which is where sensory information is, where sensory information is integrated, and we go to the parietal lobe. So the first thing about this way of thinking is you have to understand the anatomy of the different and the functions of the different brain areas. And the parietal lobe is where the sensory information goes. So if somebody is perhaps not feeling something very well, and is it that they actually have receptor damage at this level? Is it that the signals are not moving from here through the peripheral nerves because they are entrapped somewhere? Or is it a matter of reception and integration? Because where the information goes at the end is actually the parietal lobe. And the parietal lobe also does something else, which is visual pursuits. So if you want to activate the left parietal lobe, then you can follow a visual target to the left side. It's the opposite of frontal lobe. Okay, but that's not what you don't need to know all of that right now. This is just an example. And let's take a look at one of my clients. So the next video you're about to see is of a woman named Vanessa, and she has very odd movement expressions, you would say this. So she tried to train very hard, but for some reason she couldn't, she doesn't look like a normal person. It is now recently that we found out that she's actually on the spectrum of autism and has Asperger's, but back then I didn't know that, and so we do some testing with her, and this is one of the videos. So this is a saccade video, and this was what she was looking at. The task is to simply jump the eyes to the moving dot, right? So you imagine that the eyes should move like this. Fup, 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 fup. That's what you should see. And so this is what Vanessa sees, or looks like. You can see that there's a stagger, right? A stagger. So let's think about this for a second. The frontal lobe plays a huge role in visual saccades, jumping the eyes. The frontal lobe also plays a huge role in movement commands, initiating movement. And is very important for the whole neurological process of creating movement. So we can see just from her eyes that her frontal lobe doesn't function that well. So I can do all of the stuff that I want to do with her, like push-ups, sit-ups, the whole slew. But if I don't look at her frontal lobe function, I'm missing a huge part of the kette, of the neurological process, right? Okay. Do you guys want to try that with each other, or should we keep moving? Möchtest du ausprobieren? Okay, good. Okay, good. So, can I have a pen? I need 2 pens. 1 more pen from somebody. Thank you. Okay, wer möchte? Who would like to be tested? Basti? Okay, you guys, you have to get nice and close. So, observing eye motions is probably not going to look like Vanessa for most people. Okay, so Basti, can you stand right here? I will kneel. Yeah. Okay. So, you're going to start your eyes over here on this tip of the pen. And when you see this one move, you're going to jump your eyes over to the other one. Okay? Good. Good. What do you guys see? So for him, it's quite good. It's nothing like Vanessa, right? If it was like Vanessa, this would actually be concerning. And sometimes it's a matter of stamina. So how long he can do this for, right? We can do this diagonally. We can do this up and down. Did you guys observe something? Which side was faster? Should I do again? To the left was faster. Did you observe something when he went to the right? Yes, a little bit. It kind of goes soon a little bit. Yes, a little slowing down, okay? What you can see sometimes, if there's 2 targets, either it'll fall short of the target or it can overshoot the target and come back, okay? So if in his case, it was slightly slower to the right side, that means his left frontal lobe is not as good functioning as the right frontal lobe to push the eye this way. Should it overshoot, okay, that is the job of the cerebellum or the Kleinhirn to stop the motion. Yes, so a lot of people who are compromised, who have very funny movements, like they cannot inhibit some of the movements, right? This is the job of the cerebellum to stop unwanted movement, yeah? And when you want your eyes to hit a target, but it overshoots, your cerebellum didn't do the job of stopping the eye in time, right? Okay, cool. You guys want to try with each other? So maybe in groups of 3, and then just have 2 pencils, and then do this, and just see what you can see. Yeah? Okay, give it a try. Okay, you guys, let's sit back down. Okay, so tell me any fun things you observed? Yeah.
Sometimes moving.
Yes, sometimes, yep. Yes, yep. So can it be that the person, because of a deficiency in visual skills, that they move their head instead of moving their eyes? Because movement is a skill. Eye movements are also a skill. So, what else? Did you guys sometimes not wiggle your finger and the person jumped their eyes anyways? Okay, so the frontal lobe, along with the cerebellum, is also very important for a lot of inhibitory processes, okay? So people with frontal lobe dysfunction can sometimes have depression, anxiety, worried thoughts, okay? Thoughts things that we don't want to think about sometimes should be inhibited, right? Paranoid thoughts, anxious thoughts, etc. This is also something we want to inhibit. This is also one of the functions of the frontal lobe. So can it be that somebody who does not move enough, move their eyes enough, exercise enough, can develop depression, anxiety, etc.? Of course, we know this, but why? Because of frontal lobe function. And we have another exercise where you're not going to the thing that's moving, you move to the other thing that's moving, or that is not moving, sorry. So your instinct is to move towards something that is moving. If we train the opposite, we are training inhibition. So in our classes, the group training classes, we do a lot of inhibitory exercises. I say blue, you go to yellow. I say left, you go right. There's a lot of frontal lobe cognitive tasking that we do as well to improve frontal lobe function. Okay, so we talked about that if I want to move my right side, okay, let's just pretend the brain we're facing like this. If I want to move my right side, then the action or the command comes from the opposite side, right? So what is happening to my left side? So I'm kicking a ball like this. What is happening on my left side? My left side is being reflexively stabilized the entire time. So with people who are very sick, who are very unstable, or very compromised, when they're trying to move something, their whole balance is off, okay? So how stable I am on my left side will determine how good the voluntary motion on the right side is going to be, right? So, and if we want to take a look at that, we're more interested in these descending tracks, okay? So for the voluntary motion, we have something in the pyramidal tracks. So the cortical spinal tracks that feed information for the voluntary side, but then we have all of the spinal tracks that are for the extra pyramidal system. And you can see here that there's many more tracks dedicated to stabilization than there are tracks dedicated to the voluntary portion of the movement. So your brain is biased on reflexive stability. But that makes sense because if I'm all wobbly on this side, there's no way that I can coordinate the right side. So there's a very simple example of this. Everybody just stand up for me, put your feet together. You can choose which arm you want to use. We're going to do some really tight shoulder circles, okay? So do some shoulder circles, nice and tight, okay? And try to really move from the humerus here, okay? Feet together, everybody. Big toes together, Füße zusammen, Zehenspitzen auch zusammen, dicke Zeh zusammen. Okay, und jetzt so schnell wie ihr könnt, so schnell wie ihr könnt. Okay, so what do you feel? The other side of you is trying very hard to stabilize you while you're making this very fast motion. Good. 9, not at all. Okay, go ahead and sit down. So they did some studies. If you try to load the delt, the opposite muscle is highly active at the same time, so your glute med. Okay, so let's get into, I'm not sure if you can see that. That says vestibulospinal tract right there. So how do we address the different tracks that are responsible for stabilization since it is so important and it is reflexive? Let's look at the vestibulospinal tract here. So this is Ina. This is one of these very old videos of me. Her job is to hit the hand, Felix's hand. She's wobbly, she can't reach it, she's laughing because it's too hard for her. Now we are doing a vestibular exercise. Excuse my very poor camera skills because I'm always too busy trying to figure out what they're doing. So she's tilting her head to the left side. She's standing on the left side. I'm trying to improve the stability on the left side. When you tilt your head to the left side, you are moving the Flüssigkeit or the little bit of fluid that is inside of the vestibular canals to activate the vestibular system. So this is very grob done. This is very not precise, but is a general activation. She's tilting her whole head. So she's done that a couple times. And then the result is that much more stable, able to hit the hand, different angles are possible. I think Felix is going to put his hand higher now. Okay, she's having conversation, and then she's going to hit it. Okay, yeah. And so this was one of my experiments. Okay, if the vestibulospinal tract, let's talk about the science. Let's talk about anatomy. So in your inner ear, we have the vestibular canals, okay? And we have also something called otolith organs, but let's talk about the canals. So this is a fun app, it's called AVOR, and this is the actual size of your vestibular organs here, or the canals, and where they are situated or located. And in order to activate them, it's kind of a push-pull system. So if you move your eyes, they get activated. I told you at the beginning that the visual system, the vestibular system, they are best friends. And if you tilt your head in very specific angles, you will activate the different vestibular canals. Okay, you have to move them diagonally or horizontally. You have 6 canals in total, horizontal ones, posterior, and anterior ones. And so let's do an experiment, you guys. Go ahead, stand up. Or stand on one leg. You can choose which leg, okay? Okay. If your balance is awesome, then you can do this with your eyes closed, okay? All right. We're gonna look to the left. I hope you didn't drink too many beers. Okay, you just try to observe, feel, how stable am I with my head to the left. Okay, we're gonna look to the right now. So now this is the right horizontal canal. Okay, back to the middle. We're gonna do down left first. So chin to shoulder, nose to the floor. We have anterior canal, vordere canal. We'll go back to neutral. And now we go down to the right. Linke vordere canal jetzt. We go back to the middle. And we're gonna go up left, nose at the ceiling, head all the way to the back. Hintere linke canal. Back to neutral, and then we're going to go up to the right. Good, and back down. Okay, so what did we just test? We just tested, okay, when I have to have my head in this position, the different canals are activated, right? The canals send information. Okay, let's continue here. I get ahead of myself a little bit. Okay, so when we do any rotational movements, angular movements of the head, we activate different, some of the crystals or the fibers inside of the canals themselves. If we do some hopping motions left and right, and you know babies, they like to vip a lot, right? This is them actually developing their vestibular organs. And so when you do that, you activate something called the otolith organs, or the Makulai-Organe. And all of these signals are then sent to the nucleus, vestibular nuclei, and then it gets sent down the vestibulospinal tract. Remember, we talked about the vestibulospinal tract in reflexive stabilization as one of the descending pathways in the extrapyramidal system. And what does it do? It sends information to the axial muscles, and we have also inhibitory and excitatory signals that go to the flexors and the extensors. As you can see here, inhibitory to the flexor muscles. It inhibits flexion, and it excites or activates extensor muscles. So, if we know that, then postural training changes, right? So remember Astrid, the woman that I told you about, who only did these head motions in order to improve her posture. And this is the reason why. This is how the nervous system works. And so if you take a look at any anatomy book, it's written. This is why some people, I think, ask a lot, okay, NeuroAthletik, but I don't have any studies on it. There's no studies on it. There's no studies because each nervous system is unique, firstly, and secondly, it's just applied anatomy. So you just have to open your anatomy textbook, and then if you see here, vestibulospinal tracts work with reticulospinal tracts to control tone and posture. If you are interested in improving tone and posture, you have to look at the vestibulospinal tracts as one aspect. And if we look here, is associated with proximal extensor musculature. Vestibulospinal tract help to promote body and head movements to maintain appropriate posture with vestibular activation. That big exclamation mark, with vestibular activation. That means you have to move your head in these different angles. The brain is a use it or lose it thing. If you do not use it, you will lose it. And so what happens to old people? What is the highest accident or injury incidence among people who are older? Falling, okay? It's not because they don't have muscle mass. It's not because their bone density needs to be better and they need to do strength training. Their vestibular function has declined. So when they trip, they cannot stop themselves anymore. Appropriate posture. That means if you fall over, you should stand back up. If I hit you, you should be able to stay erect. Okay? Okay. So what else does the vestibular function do? A whole lot of things, which I'm not going to go through. Sensory mismatch. I told you that the vestibular system and the visual system, they're best buddies. What happens when they're not working together or they're not getting along? A lot of things. Vertigo, motion sickness, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So, how can we get sensory mismatch? Head traumas, infection, viruses, head injuries. Okay, what's the point of all this? Why did I just spew all of this neuroanatomy to you? Because movement starts in the brain and it is expressed through our muscles and joints via the peripheral nerves. We have to look at the big picture. I did not want to show you today a bunch of nerve stretches, which I will show you, and you will get the handout and you can also figure out how to do it by yourself, okay? I'm going to show you all of this, but I'm telling you that if you do it and you improve muscular function or if you improve movement quality, awesome, okay? If you do not, I want you to understand that there's a much bigger picture to this and that movement is a little bit more complex than we initially thought, okay? So it doesn't end with the peripheral nerves, and I'm not hanging my cross on the peripheral nerves or other things. I'm just saying that there's much more to it than we think. Yeah, and I want you, for me, everything is about context, and I really am very much about the bigger picture, okay? So let's get to these peripheral nerves though, which is the highway for all of these signals. So you have to know, you guys, I know as much as necessary, but if you ask me if I remembered every single Latin name for all of the muscles, the answer is probably no. So just so you know that you are more likely to know the musculature much better than me, but I will show you the approach that we are using. So there are some foundational principles. The first one being active, not passive. The client is doing it, the athlete is doing it, and not you manually stretching the nerve for them. Then the second thing is that we integrate spinal movements, spinal articulations. So the lumbar spine, the thoracic spine, and the cervical spine. Then we are not only tensioning the nerve, we are also slacking the nerve, and then we're also gliding the nerve. Okay, so there's 3 different things that we can do. And then the last thing is test and retest movement coordination and stability. Remember, output is relative to happen beforehand. So if we do anything that is good for the nervous system, then the outputs should improve. If the outputs do not improve, we did not do the correct thing. So some of you who rubbed your feet, you did not get better. I'm not going to tell you to go home and rub your feet then. That is not the thing for you, okay? So let's talk about active versus the passive problem. So this comes straight from the neuromuscular rehabilitation book in manual and physical therapies. So straight from the book, being active and physically practicing the movement is essential for neuromuscular adaptation. During active movement, the whole motor system is engaged. In contrast, during passive movement, there is no efferent activity or muscle recruitment. Interestingly, passive movement rarely occurs during normal daily activities. It can be inferred from this observation that the motor system is well accustomed to adapt to active rather than passive movements. When a person comes to you for therapy, you use your therapist voice, okay? I use my trainer voice, and you make them feel comfortable. You make them feel calm. Threat level down. They're in a private room by themselves. They feel even more comfy. They get to lay down most of the time, even more comfortable. Let's think about the threat bucket. Everything's going down, everything's going down. You touch them, which people love generally, okay? And maybe you massage them, you mobilize them. Oh, that feels amazing, okay? Awesome. They feel much better after being at your place. Then they go out into the world, okay? They do their thing. And then the effect of your therapy may not last. So the thing is, we want people to, of course, you guys give them exercises as well, and we pray and hope that they do their exercises, okay? And this is what we want. And so after any manual therapy, we hope that it is reinforced with their own movement, okay? Of course, people need adjustments. After adjusting the person, they should then be able to move their joint in a controlled way after that. And then to basically cement the effect of your therapy, yeah? Okay, so let's talk about spinal mobilization. So being able to coordinate the spinal movements is essential for mobilizing the peripheral nerves later. And it will also help your clients to get great dance moves. So we're gonna try some of them right now, you guys. Listen, this is very important because when we get into these sequences in a little bit, okay, if you cannot do any pelvic tilts, it's gonna be hard to tension the nerves, right? Okay, everybody stand up. Are you guys ready? Let's put your hands over here, and we're gonna start with first the lumbar spine, okay? Sorry, is that the thoracic spine? Why is that one first? There we go. Okay, so we're just gonna tilt back and forth. Bend the knees a little bit, it's a little bit easier, okay? Good, good, good. What I like to do is I show, am I continuing to click as I do this? Okay, so put one hand above the other one, and we're really gonna bring the hands apart through the pelvic motion. Good. All right, you guys, let's try some sideways ones, some lateral ones. Very good. Excellent. Can you guys do circles? Okay, so now let's do some thoracic spine, okay? I like to put my hands here. You don't have to. If you don't want to, you can put your hands here if you want. Okay, we're gonna do some flexion, some extension. Some flexion, some extension. We're trying to minimize the shoulder movements, okay? All right, let's turn to one side slightly, boop, and then try to do some flexion and extension from here. Nice, and we'll go the other way, and the same thing. Good, and we're gonna do a lateral flexion, and we try to do it from here. A little harder, right? Okay, other side. Good. Okay, when is that important? Especially for people who are throwing athletes or hitting athletes, right? Okay, let's go on to the cervical spine now. We do some chicken heads. Okay, you can put your hands wherever you want. Good. Okay, very important. Let's find C7. Okay, and when you do your chicken heads, let's see if you glide all of the vertebrae all the way down to C7 and all the way back, or do you only just move the top ones? Good. Okay, we're gonna do some rotations now, left and right. All right, so now let's try that rotation again from the base of the neck and see if the spine moves with you. Most people do not move all the way down to C7. Some of you look confused, like, it doesn't move. Yeah, good. All right, go ahead, take a seat, you guys. Thank you. All right, so this is very important because you know that all of the nerve roots from the legs, they come from the lumbar spine. All of the nerve roots for the nerves that supply the respiratory muscles come from the thoracic spine, and all of the ones from the arms, okay, and the diaphragm, I guess, come from the cervical spine. Now, let's talk about the muscles of respiration, for example. Who would like to do this experiment? Who would like to get their breathing muscles tested? Yes, okay. Can you stay right here, please? Okay, you look that way for me. Perfect. Okay, and now we're just gonna see how his rib cage moves, okay? So can you just breathe in and out a couple times for me? Can you guys see? Is my head in the way? Okay, do we see any rib cage movement? No. No, he's breathing all up here, okay? So if we take a look at the anatomy, your rib cage is supposed to expand and elevate when you breathe in. It is supposed to depress and compress when you breathe out, okay? So where my hands are, can you just breathe in between my hands for me? He's kind of pushing out to compensate, you know? Okay, just relax, yeah? Okay, and breathe in and out. I'm just gonna give him a little bit more pressure now. Better, 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 better. Yeah. Okay, watch carefully, you guys. Very good. One more time. Good. Was it symmetric? No. Which left side moves more, right? All right. So can you take a seat for me right here, please? I'm going to move this here. Thank you. Okay. So sit where you're comfortable, and you're going to hold one knee, and we're going to do some thoracic extension and then flexion. Okay? So keep your arms straight for me. Good. Und good. Raus. Bisschen mehr. Mehr. There you go. Und rein. Hast du genug Platz hier? Kommt mehr vorne. Danke. Okay. Und wieder raus. Mehr. There you go. Und wieder rein. Mehr. Good. Nochmal raus. Bring meine zwei Finger zusammen. Mehr raus. Super. Und wieder rein. Super. Good breathing. Okay. And again in. In. It's okay. Wieder aus. More. And then move your head with you a little bit, okay? Ein. Kopf ein bisschen weiter nach vorne. Mehr raus. Versuch meinen Finger zu berühren hier. Yes. Noch mehr. Are you holding your breath? Und ausatmen. Kopf wieder rein. Yeah, good. And one more time. Very good. If I was going to be very pingelig, then I would fix his lumbar spine a little bit, okay, with my hands. Okay, good. Und jetzt wieder aufstehen. Okay, und wir testen nochmal. Okay, and we watch again. Good. Versuch nochmal zwischen meine Hände einzuatmen. Yeah, there we go. Better. Okay, what did we see? A bit more symmetric, and then sometimes right side more than left side now. So he's trying to find the middle, and he's getting a little bit better at breathing through his rib cage, but it's still sometimes up here. Okay, but better is better. It was slightly better than before. Okay, thank you. Okay, so what did we learn? All of the nerves that innervate the respiratory musculature, which is in the torso, come from the thoracic spine. If we do thoracic spine mobilization, and that was a very fast demonstration, and could have been a little bit more clean as well, then we can improve the movement of the rib cage and improve the function of the respiratory muscles, okay? So if we think about what muscles are we trying to improve the function of? Are they in the arms? Do the nerves originate from the cervical spine? Which section of the cervical spine? So if we are looking at certain parts that are more in the lower section, like nerves, like for example, the radial nerve, which we will do later, which originates from the lower part of the cervical spine, and you're doing this kind of rotation and you're not really getting the base of the neck, that might be where you want to look at first, okay? Good. So let's talk a little bit about output testing. I said, remember that what the nervous system does, input, integration, output. So we always want to know if what we are doing is beneficial to this individual's nervous system. So what kind of tests do we have? First, do you guys need a slight coffee break? No? Okay. Nobody? Okay, good. So gait analysis, okay? Do you guys do gait analysis? Ganganalyse? A little bit sometimes? Okay. Gait analysis is one of the things I like to do. Muscle testing, so strength testing. And then a desired movement, so perhaps a lunge, a squat, or whatever is important to them, yeah? Then we have sensory testing, and you can do light touch, 2-point discrimination. We know what 2-point discrimination is? Yeah? Okay, great. Sharp, dull, etc. Stability testing. So you can do Romberg's, which is when, you guys know Romberg's? Yeah? Sharpened Romberg's, single leg balance test, or we can do cerebellum testing, okay? So cerebellum testing is very fun to do. but also really tells you about how good the coordination of the muscles are. And so we have finger, nose, finger testing, okay? Then we have rapid alternating movements. I can never say this word, dystiadokinesia. So rapid pronation, supination, finger tapping, foot tapping, etc. Okay, we're going to do that also today. Or heel shin. So if you do sensory testing, then of course you can, I think you guys know how to do this. Do the sensory testing for the dermatomes and look at where the nerve root is for this dermatome, and then try to do the mobility exercises that we talked about, and then retest, okay, to see if that works. So you can do a muscle test, sensory test, movement test, then practice the movement of the relevant spinal segment, and then retest again to see if it is successful. Yeah? Okay, so today we can do some sensory testing of, we're going to focus on the radial nerve today, and the musculocutaneous nerve, and/or you guys can choose, okay, one of them. I don't think we have time for both. And then we have the fibular nerve, or we are also going to do the obturator nerve today. Okay, so basic principle: we do the output test, so one of those, and then we can either tension the nerve, slack the nerve, or glide the nerve. I don't know if you guys have ever seen an ultrasound of nerves gliding. For me, it's super fun to see because I never went to school for this. And I think that's just bonkers and crazy that if you just move your hand like this, the nerve is literally sliding, like I told you. I know maybe that's not that special for you, but for me it was really cool. Okay, and then we're gonna retest everything. All right, so everybody, who would like to do a fibular nerve mobilization? You do? Okay, so we're just gonna, can you take a walk for me, please? We're gonna do a little gait analysis, and this cable is dangerous. Okay, very zügig, like the, just to the end, where the, yeah, okay? A little faster. Yes, like the Rewe is closing in 3 minutes, and the Kassierer are gonna kill you with their eyes. What's that?
They're gonna do nevertheless.
Okay. Nochmal bitte. You're gonna keep going. Okay. What's that? Walk fast, walk fast, walk fast. Okay, so I'm listening to her heel strike. I'm looking for the fluidity of the movement. I'm looking for a couple different things, sacral movement, but just try to remember what you saw. Okay, so let's do some foot tapping. Okay, so pop, 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 pop. As fast and as rhythmically as you can. It's not bad. Is it tired? Is it cramping?
No.
Okay. Okay, other side, please. Which side is better for you? Yes. Okay, good. So we'll do heel shin now, okay? So you just bring your heel to your shin, and then you're going to bring it over your big toe, like this, okay? Very good. Yeah, can you do that maybe 3 times? Good. And again. Very good. Okay, we'll try the other side. Okay, good. How was that?
This side is better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, when you stand on the side, you mean? Yeah, okay, good. All right. So I don't know if you guys, it matters for you, but the language that I'm using is always asking her first before I tell her what I see, or if I tell her what I see, because I also try to improve interoception and proprioception at the same time. Okay, so can you just put your feet together, look straight for me, okay? Mm-hmm. And just keep looking at the same thing. We're looking at Romberg's now. Eyes closed for me. Keep your eyes closed. I'm gonna hit you in a second, okay?
No.
Yeah. I told you. Augen sind immer noch zu, oder are they still so close? This is part of the reflex testing.
Eyes are closed.
Good. Okay, good. All right, so can you stand on one foot for me? Whichever one you want. Look straight ahead. Okay, other side. Good. How is this for you?
This is
Harder for you? Yeah. Okay, good. So now we do some muscle tests. So you can do this standing or sitting. With an athlete, then most of the time I do it standing because most athletes have to stand when they have to coordinate their feet. So it's more relevant for them. But can you sit down for me, please? Auf die Kante. Okay, so we're going to test both sides. Okay, so we're going to come out here and pull the foot up and in. Yeah, perfect. You can bend your knee a little bit. It's a little bit more comfortable, then you don't have such a stretch. Okay, so your job is to pull your foot that way. Okay, my job is to put it back. All right? Okay, and pull. Okay, that's okay?
Ja.
Tut es weh?
Nein.
Okay. All right, and again, and pull. Okay, good. So now up and out. So. Okay, yeah. Okay, soup. Yes. Okay, and pull. It's okay? Okay. Down and in now. So, okay. Oh, we actually don't need to do this one. Go out. Down and out. So, okay. And your job is to bring the foot out this way. Okay? Is it okay? Okay. And pull. Okay. And now we do the other side. Yeah? So, up and in. Yeah. It's okay? Okay. And pull. Okay. Up and out. And pull. Okay. Down and in. Down and out, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Can you bend your knee a little bit? Yeah. Good. A little bit more down. Can you do a little bit more? Yeah. And out a little bit. Okay. And pull. Okay. What is your feeling left to right?
This one was better. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't think it was much worse.
No.
Okay. All right. So, which side would you like to stretch?
This is not good balance.
Yeah, so the
It's a
muscle
bit
tests were
surprise.
slightly better, but the
Yeah.
balance tests were slightly worse. Okay, which side would you like to stretch?
This one.
This one? Okay. All right, so straighten your leg out for me like this. Okay, down and out. Good. And now elongate your spine, and you're gonna do some pelvic tilts, okay? So do you already feel a stretch here or not yet?
No.
Okay, can you curl your toes a little bit? All right, and now you're gonna hinge forward a little bit. Good. Do you feel a stretch now?
A little bit.
Okay, like out of 10, 10 being max?
4.
4? Okay, that's good. So can you do pelvic tilts for me now? Yeah, anterior, posterior. Good, we try to keep the knees straight. We look to see. Okay, keep going. Oh, yeah. Yeah, good. Don't worry about this so much. Put your hand here and focus on tilting the pelvis. Yeah. When do you get more stretch?
Here.
Here. Okay, so interestingly for her, more in posterior. Yeah. Okay, good. So now hold this, and I want you to tilt left and right. Yeah. Yeah. Does it increase the stretch when you go to one side or the other side? Or not really?
A little bit.
A little bit? Okay, we'll go back to neutral. And now you're just going to turn left and right. Sorry, Oberkörper links und rechts. Ja. Und versuch die Beckenposition beizubehalten. Ja. Und ändert die Dehnung in eine Richtung?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, so more lateral tilting. So jetzt versuch Flex X von den BWS. Rein, 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 rein. Genau. Yes. Changes? No. Okay, so more lateral tilting for her. So, listen, a little bit of shaking, out a little bit, and then we're gonna do this. Foot down, posterior tilt, lateral tilt to your right side, okay? And then back. Tilt, and then back. Yeah? Okay, so nochmal. Beugung. Und tilt. Yes. Und neigen nach rechts. Good. Und dann wieder zurück zu neutral. Genau. And Dehnung-Level ist?
Spüre ich gerade gar nichts mehr.
Okay, dann wieder neu starten. Okay, Wirbelsäule verlängern. Nochmal von die Hüfte nach vorne, bis es ein 4 von 5 ist. Genau, super. Und jetzt neigen. Super. Sollte nicht mehr als 5 bis 7 von 10 sein. What do you think?
3.
3? Okay. Versuch, try to tilt your pelvis into the anterior position. Do you get more here? You do? Okay. And now lateral again. Okay. How was that?
Ja, more.
More? Not more than 7, oder? Okay, good. Good. Okay. Kurz aufstehen, kurz aufschütteln. Is it okay? If you overstretch the nerve, you will get tingling. Is it tingling? Okay, that's good. Okay, so nochmal sitzen. We'll do the muscle test again. Okay, and we'll do the foot up and in. Yes, okay, and pull. Okay, how was that?
Better.
Better. Very much
Stronger?
better. Yep, definitely. Okay, and pull. How was that? Also better. Good. Down and out. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I put more in. Sorry, down and out. This way. Good. And pull. Also better. That's good. Do you feel it?
Ja.
Okay, okay. Einmal gehen bitte. Zügig. Rewe. What do you guys think? What's that? It's quieter, yeah? A little bit flüssiger. Okay, good. So, jetzt let's do the foot tapping. How is it? Better, worse, same? Same.
It's uncoordinated.
Yeah, but was it better than the first time or
No.
not that much better? It's not every test is going to be überragend, you guys. Okay, so feet together, okay? Oh, let's do the heel shin, no? This one again. Yes.
Du willst mich schon wieder hauen.
But I will. Don't worry. Bit better. Okay, Füße zusammen nochmal. Und
Eyes closed?
yes. Actually, eyes open first. We just do the neutral observation. No, 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 no. Are you scared? Eyes closed now?
Yes.
You're terrible. Jetzt kommt, okay? Better? Much better. Yes? Okay. Yes.
Better?
Much better, oder?
Ja.
Okay. So, jetzt Einbeinstand nochmal. Geradeaus gucken. How is this for you?
Bit better.
Bit better, close to similar. Okay? So, war das zu schnell mit Testing, you guys? Oder können wir ein bisschen folgen? Ja. Okay, you guys ready to try with each other? Yeah? Okie dokies. 3, 2, 1, los. Okay, you guys, kommt langsam zusammen. We're gonna keep going and we're gonna speed it up a little bit. Okay, everybody, so we're gonna do this together now. Okay, you guys, let's do this fibular nerve stretch together, okay? So we're gonna put, let's say, let's just make it easy. You guys are all doing the right foot. Okay, right foot out in front, plantar flex. We're gonna bring the foot in, straighten the knee. Try to rotate the femur also a little bit inward. We're gonna elongate. We're gonna hinge from the hip first, okay? Until you get around a 4 to 5 out of 10 stretch, okay? Not more. So now we're going to try to tilt the pelvis. tilting, and you're gonna hold it in the position with more stretch. If you cannot hold your foot like this, you can use the other toe to hold it a little bit. So for me, it's anterior. And now we're gonna do a lateral tilt. If you get a cramp in the foot, which is also happening for me right now, you can rub your foot slightly. So we're gonna do lateral flexion of the spine, left and right, okay? And see if you get more stretch to one side. And then rotate left or right. Okay, find out where you have more stretch. Good. And now you're just going to repeat. So it could be lateral tilt to the left, rotate to the left or to the right, or the opposite way. Okay? And you just do that a few times. Good. So this is nerve tensioning. So if we want to slack the nerve, so we just went like this, and now we want to do this, we have to do the complete opposite. So we are going to dorsiflex, and then not eversion. What's the other one? Okay, evert. And we're gonna hold the foot like this. So the knee was straight, right? And the hip was flexed, so we want to do hip extension. And then we kind of want to do the opposite. You can lay in the opposite way, okay? So it's just the complete opposite. This looks hard for you guys. Okay, little break. An easier way to do that is if you're on the floor. You can do it on the floor a little bit easier, like this. So this is one way to slack that nerve. It's funny because when you slack this nerve, you also stretch the femoral nerve, so it's usually always the opposite. Okay, so what if we want to glide the nerve? That means we have to tension one side and then slack the other side. So let's go back into the full tensioning sequence, okay? All right, so for me, it was lateral tilt like this and rotation. Okie dokies. So if we want to slack the nerve or glide the nerve, let's undo the foot and then back. Undo the foot, less, more, less, more. Or from the knee, less, more, less, more. Okay, so now let's just do it with a lateral tilt, okay? So if this is full tension for me, it's gonna be less, and now we're gonna switch, more here, less down here at the foot. Foop, foop. You have to coordinate the upper body and the foot at the same time. Yeah? Okay, and relax. So this is why it's very important to first teach your client how to move the lumbars or the spinal sections. It takes actually a lot of coordination. Okay? So let's do the upper body now. So let's do the radial nerve. Okay, so let's stand up, everybody. Let's do just one test. And we're gonna do some rapid pronation and supination, okay? So the test is like this. You're gonna flip your hand on top of the other hand as fast as you can. Good. Okay, we're gonna switch hands and do the other side. Excellent. We're gonna do it again. Eyes closed now. Okay, and now with the eyes open. Oh, sorry, eyes closed on the other side. Okay, good. Okay, which side? How many people had the left side that was better? Yeah. No. Okay. Okay, right side better? Right side better. Okay, so take the worst side, okay? And we're gonna do the radial nerve stretch. So it's gonna go like this. Thumb, hold on. Let me switch the slide so it looks better. Here we go. Okay, thumb like this. Also a little bit, think more about this section, okay? Flexion. We're gonna internally rotate. We're gonna bring the arm back a little bit. We're gonna depress the scapula. So, do you guys already feel something in here? Listen, shake it out a little bit. 5 out of 10. If you overstretch this, you will have tingly fingers for like a day, okay? So, one more time. Stretch, okay? Flex, depress the scapula, straighten the elbow, tilt your head away. If it's too much, bring the arm in front, less flexion in the hand, okay? If you want a little bit more, bring the arm away from you a little bit, Okay, this is full tension. So we can do a little bit from the wrist here, or a little bit from the head, and you'll find that different places bring you more sensation or less sensation. That means that the likelihood that the nerve is entrapped somewhere, mine is the elbow. I feel much more in the elbow. So bending the elbow and straightening the elbow gives me a lot more sensation of stretching. Okay, so this is tensioning, and we're gonna relax for a second, shake it out, and then you're gonna try again. Good. Better, worse, the same? Worse, better, same? Okay, good. So some people it could be worse. Let's try the opposite, slacking. So the opposite is extension, right? And instead of elbow extension, we're gonna do flexion. And we're gonna bring the arm over here, and we're just gonna hug ourselves, kind of like this, okay? And just relax, elevate the scapula a little bit. What's that? Okay, relax. And one more time, let's really extend that thumb now. And one more time. Good, and relax, and we're gonna do it again. Okie dokies. So for who was that better? You, okay. Let's glide now, okay? So we're gonna bring it back into full extension. Thumb, flexion, extension of the shoulder, depression of scapula, tilt the head away from the side that is being stretched. And now, this is fun, let the wrist go. And now, while we bring the wrist back, we're gonna tilt the head up. So it's gonna be boop, 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 boop. So we just glided the nerve, okay? Let's relax, and again. Oh, that was not great for me. Okay. No, for you also not. Slacking was the best for me. Okay, go ahead and sit down, you guys. So, general rule. For me, I did a lot of grip work because I did a lot of weightlifting, okay? And I have jammed every single finger, busted every single capsule from playing volleyball. Stretching of my nerves, my upper body nerves, no bueno, not amazing. I get the most benefit from slacking all of those nerves. For in general, if you are a right-sided thrower, if you play handball, if you hit with your right side for tennis, for example, or volleyball, most of the time, the side that you are hitting with is overly stretched already, okay? Because every time you do a throwing motion, it's always like this. You're tensing all the nerves, especially at the brachial plexus. So most of the time, the side that is your dominant hand needs to be slacked, and the other side needs to be stretched as a general rule of thumb. It's not always like this, which is why you always have to test, but you can think about it like this. Okay, so we don't go through all of them. I think that's pretty clear. And just to bring it back to the bigger picture. So if you ended up doing some kind of sensory testing and you did all of the nerve stuff or the nerve mobilizations and it doesn't get better, then why doesn't the sensory test get better? You have to follow the ascending pathway now. We talked about the descending pathways, so you can follow the ascending pathways up to the top. So if we look at fine touch, for example, it goes up through the spinal cord, but then ends up in the parietal lobe. Okay, so remember when I talked about different eye movements can activate different brain areas, and following activates the parietal lobe. So if you do your sensation testing, you do your nerve glides and sensation testing again, they don't get any better, then maybe it has to do with the reception of all of the information, the integration in the parietal lobe. You can also look at the other brain areas. And this is essentially what Z-Health and the NeuroAthletik approach is. So test the area, test one possibility, follow the pathway, see if we can improve those brain areas. Does the movement get better? And that's essentially how it works. Okay, so summary. Output tests, We did all the tests. You can tension the nerve, you can slack the nerve, or you can glide the nerve. And then we retest in order to find out what is best for the client. And for the bigger picture, remember, input, integration, output. Second thing is pain is an output, an action signal from the nervous system that the threat bucket is overwhelmed. So do not feel discouraged if you're doing therapy and the person continues to have chronic pain. Just remember that there's a lot of other factors that contribute to their threat bucket, and it is not only about the site that you are addressing at this time. Thirdly, movement quality is an output that is dependent on the neurological processes that preceded it. And lastly, follow the pathway. Okay, so that concludes my presentation. I know that was a lot of information, and I hope you enjoyed it. Some of you are looking at me like, oh my God. Okay, so I think you will enjoy your beer very much, and I will enjoy mine right now. Yeah. Yes, questions? Lucas, okay, cut.
First of all,